communicate about this talk. So first, our chapter advisor, Dr. Umesh Tiwari, sir, he will introduce Professor Vaughan. Then she will take the lecture, and after that there will be a question answer session, which will be taken by Sonia. And after that there will be closing remarks by Amit Pandey, and we will after that we will conclude. So in between the talk, if you have any query, kindly post at the chat box option, which you find at the left right bottom side. So there you can write down any question which you have want to ask to Professor Dr. Vaughan. And if still your query remains, then you can unmute yourself and ask the question to Dr. Vaughan. Now I request our chapter advisor, Dr. Tiwari sir, to kindly introduce our speaker and.
Okay. Thank you, Keshav. So, first of all, a very good afternoon to all. I welcome Dr. Rachel Vaughan and all the attendees from the India and overseas. So, it is a great pleasure and honor for me to introduce such a big personality. So, Dr. Rachel Vaughan is an international editor of Nature Photonics. She joined the journal in June 2006 as one of the 4 founding editors. So before that, Rachel worked for Aston University Business Partnership Unit in Birmingham, UK as a Medici Fellow, commercializing the research output of the university, particularly that of photonics research. She obtained her PhD in microwave photonics and nonlinear optics as a member of Aston's Photonics Research Group. She worked for the Philips Optical Storage in Singapore as an optics engineer. After completing her master's degree study in NTU, Singapore, doing research in optical fiber sensing, she holds a bachelor degree from the National University of Malaysia. She is a fellow of the Optical Society of America and International Society of Optics and Photonics. So today, Dr. Rachel is talking on the communicating the optics with the public, my journey in optics. So with this, I request Dr. Rachel to kindly deliver her talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Should I share the screen now or?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so this is the one. Share. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank Keshav and Professor Tiwari for the invitation to ask me to give a talk to the SBI's chapter of CISO. It's my pleasure to be here today. I wish that I could attend. I mean, I could visit your institute personally in person, but unfortunately, I think this time is not a good time for everybody. So, but I'm happy to be here to meet you online. So maybe I can have a look of everybody just for a little bit today. Now, is it possible? Okay. Anyway, I'll just say hi to you. Okay. I'll just say hi to you. Okay, good. So, thank you for the introduction. So I will just start the talk today and quickly by introducing you to you where I'm from. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Bal. Yes. Hi. And hi, Abhimanyu. Yes. Also, okay, everybody. So I don't think I have a big. Yes. Hello. Yeah. Okay. So I will start my talk now. Thank you so much. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of background about where I'm from. So I'm coming from Malacca, a little town to the south of the capital city of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. So that is the place that I was born, and then Malacca, and then I studied for my bachelor degree in National University of Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. And so before I started to move to Singapore for my master degree. So in Singapore, it is a national Nanyang Technological University that I study in for my master in research degree. So after my master degree, I worked for a little bit for Philips Optical Storage. And then I moved to Birmingham in the UK for my PhD study. Birmingham is in the Midwest of United Kingdom. So that is the city that I spent for about 5 years, yeah. So it's Birmingham. Then I was recruited to be one of the founding editors for Nature Photonics, and I was shipped all the way to Tokyo, where the editorial headquarters was at the time for Nature Photonics. So I live and work in Tokyo for about 7.5 years. Yeah. So, and after that, I relocated back to London in 2014, January, to work in the headquarters of Nature Research. So in London. So, and that is the place that I'm based now. Yeah. So, but currently I actually live in Cambridge, which is 1 hour by train from London. Yeah. So, this is just. Nobody told me that it is not in the presentation form. Okay. So, so this is just to show that this is my family now. Yes, they are actually my inspiration, my 2 girls, and my husband, who is also an optics researcher at the moment with University of Cambridge. Yeah. So, yeah, they give me a lot. They inspire me a lot. Yeah. So here I am today to give you the talk about communicating optics. So basically is to tell you a little bit about me, you know, the whole journey of me in optics. Yeah. So just would like to say something about my first contact with journalism. So it's when I was a student in the secondary school at about 18 years old. Yeah, I was appointed to be the student reporter of a local Chinese newspaper. So I was the one that's reporting the news of the school and any events in the school to the local Chinese newspaper, to be published in the local Chinese newspaper in Malacca. And when I was a student reporter, I carried out a lot of interviews, and also I wrote a lot of profile articles, all in Chinese, yeah, for the newspaper. So during during that year, I was actually trained to have this kind of eyes for newsworthy story for the school. So I quite enjoy being a reporter, and I started to have this kind of dream, like, okay, one day I would like to be a journalist, you know, for a newspaper. But before that, I also like to write, travel, and also photography is my hobby as well. So I have this little ambition in my mind when I was little, that one day maybe I could be a wanderer, you know, trying to write something and travel at the same time, you know, to talk about life and talk about travels, talk about trips, and be an author as well. So this is just a little ambition when I was little. But I'm not so sure about the education system in India. But in Malaysia, we have this kind of a system. So at the age of 16, we will be split into two streams of education, which is science and arts. So if you like physics, chemistry, bio, you will have to go into the science stream. But if you like geography, writing, literature, history, or journalism, yeah, you will need to study art stream. So when I was in the secondary school, I was very much into physics, you know, mathematics, science, this kind of subjects. So very unfortunately, I had to, you know, cut off my dream, you know, to be, you know, into, studying journalism, or maybe, you know, literature or language at that time. So I chose to get into the science stream for the rest of my education in Malaysia. So that was the moment that I decided, okay, maybe journalism is not going to happen to me anymore. Yeah. So that was how I started my, you know, study in engineering for in optics. So the first degree that I studied was a bachelor degree in the mechanical and material science in Malaysia. And after the bachelor degree, I moved to Singapore for 2 years of a master in research. degree. And the research topic that I was involved in was optical fiber sensing. I'm not sure if you know about Professor Anand Asundi. So basically, he was my mentor at the time, to guide me into this optics research, and also to guide me into this whole world of SPIE, the whole society, because he was actually the chairman of the SPIE chapter in Singapore. So it was really, I really thank him a lot for involving me in many activities. So during my master degree in Singapore, I was fortunate enough to be able to publish 4 journal papers, and also very fortunate enough as a master student to be able to have the money for me to attend 3 international conferences. So it was a very good opportunity for me, to get to the outside world, to see the the research world at other countries. Yep. And also because of Professor Anand Asundi, I was given the chance to help out in organizing the SPIE conference in Singapore. I remember that was optical fiber sensing, yeah. And also because of his help as well, I managed to get this SPIE student travel grants for me to travel to California for an SPIE conference. And also all this kind of SPIE support and exposure to the society, I started to have this idea to kick off, the planning for the SPIE student chapter in Nanyang Technological University. But I didn't have enough time to form it, but I managed to kick off the planning. Yeah. So it was a very great experience at the time as a master's student. Yeah. Really, yeah, I was very grateful to Professor Asundi for giving me such those opportunities. Yeah. So the important points that I want to say is during my master's degree, I was exposed to a research world. So because of the nature of my master degree, it is not master by course, but actually it's master by research. So I was exposed to the, the research methodology for my research topic. So it was quite interesting to me. I was thinking, okay, good. I felt like I was like a scientist, Yeah, so it was a positive effect to me. And I was given the kind of training in research, like how to carry out research and all these things. So it was fun. And also the conference attendance at the 3 international conferences also opened my mind, because I get to meet scientists in the community, not just from Singapore or Malaysia, but actually outside the Southeast Asia region. So I met many people from different countries, and also I talked to them, and I thought being a scientist is quite cool, like, good. That is a very good motivation to me, especially when I was not so sure at the time whether I should get into industry to work or whether I should pursue my PhD study. So I thought that was a very good opportunity at the time, to have this kind of exposure. And not to mention that the kind of support given by SPIE, because without that, I think traveling for conferences can be a little bit financially difficult, challenging. Yeah. So after my master study in Singapore, I joined Philips Optical Storage to be the optics engineer. So I was working under this kind of R&D, research and development environment. So it's industry, but still it involved a little bit of research. So it is good. It was good. And during those 4 months in Philips, 6 months in Philips Optical Storage, I developed the optical system in the optical pickup units of the CD and DVD players. I improved the performance of the optical components, for example, laser diodes, lenses, the holographic optical devices, and the detectors in the optical pickup units of the CD and DVD players. So I was fortunate enough to be with a very good team to be able to file a patent during my first 4 months on the job. Yeah. So, but at the end of the 4 months, I started to think that is actually not enough, because R&D is good, but I think I want something more than that. So I have this kind of thirst for new knowledge that's in my mind that's telling me that maybe you should try to do something more. So I remember at one of in the Singapore conferences that I helped to organize, I pick up one of these kind of SPIE higher education directory that introduces a lot of university all around the world that accept PhD students, and also all the information about financial support and all these things to students who would like to pursue their PhD study. So, and I was quite interested in it, so I took the risk, quit the R&D job at Philips Optical Storage to pursue a PhD in the UK. At the end of in the beginning of 2012. So that was the moment that I moved from Singapore to the UK. And my research topic for my PhD was microwave photonics and nonlinear optics. So I'm not sure how many of you are still PhD students now. I'm not sure, but I'm sure even if you are postdoc now, you still could recall the PhD experience, right? Actually, it's not that pleasant, 3-4 years, doing the research. So I struggled quite a lot, not just because of the study, but also the fact that I was away from home, alone in the UK. So at many points in the first year, I thought of quitting, like forget about PhD, just go back home, to work or something like that. But just when I was quite negative about the whole idea of PhD, I was awarded the SPIE scholarship in 2003 for my continued contributions in optics. So these 3 words, my continued contributions, really enlightened me a lot for me to make a decision that maybe, perhaps I should continue my PhD so that I can continue my contribution in optics. So that was the thought in my mind. Yeah, I think this is the sign. I think something is telling me that I should just continue, regardless of how hard the PhD time was. So because of this scholarship, the motivation from this scholarship, I decided, okay, no matter how hard, I should just continue. So again, the timely supports from SPIE motivated me a lot to continue and to complete my PhD study. And I did that in 3.5 years in the UK. So I was very happy about the outcome. Yeah. So after my PhD, I joined the business partnership unit of the university, which is Aston University, to be the research commercialization consultant, which is a Medici Fellow, they call it. Yeah. So my role at the time was to be the middleman between the scientist and the businessman, the industry. So just to be in the middleman, to be, to communicate between the idea from the scientist, and then to convey the idea of the scientist using layman term to the businessman, so that we can get funding, we can get support from them. So I'm sure that sometimes you agree with me that some businessmen, they don't talk about science and they don't understand so much about science, this thing. And scientists, they don't care about money, they don't care about companies and all these things. So it's very hard for them to communicate with each other. So they need someone in the middle to be the middleman to convey their message. So my role at the time was to do this. Yeah, to connect the university with the industry. So what I did at the time as a Medici Fellow, as a research commercialization consultant, I improved the support for the commercial development for the research, and also I delivered a cultural change that will boost the commercial awareness and embedded that awareness in the university, so that people are more aware of, oh, maybe my research is new enough to make a business out of it. Yeah, basically is to make them think of that, not just doing research, doing science. And also I foster a climate of entrepreneurship, particularly in relation to research that has commercial application in biomedicine, technology, and engineering. So in my role at the time, I focus on photonics research. Yeah. And I also identify potential research outputs that could lead to additional consultancy income. For example, like patents, applications, technology licenses, or even to spin out a company. And of course, to do the industrial research and collaborative research. So these are the things that I did when I was the consultant for this business partnership unit. And it was quite different from being a researcher in the lab. Yeah, because basically you're doing something quite different. You are talking to different people, different level of people about different things. So yeah, it was quite interesting to me. So I get to learn the kind of interaction with researchers and also industrial companies. As I said just now, the kind of language that you use can be very different when you talk to a scientist and when you talk to a businessman. Yeah. And also I was given this kind of breadth of optics research. So everything about, I mean, the wide photonics research instead of the depth of a specific research topic, because I got to talk to different scientists about their research. So I learned many things from the scientists from the in the lab. Yeah, and also I was trained to be able to identify research outputs with potential commercial value, and to identify new things, new research that can be applied for a patent. Yeah, this kind of thing. And also I was given courses like legal patenting process, how to find research funding, research grants for the spin-out companies, and also how to write proposal to get fundings for the our spin-out companies. And not to mention that I was given courses about how to manage my time and also how to communicate with different people. So I learned many new skills at the time. Some skills that I didn't actually get when I was a PhD student in the lab. So in 2006, there was this new journal, Nature Photonics. There was this recruitment for new editors to launch the journal. So at the time I was thinking, okay, so there isn't this kind of scenario anymore that if you want science, you cannot do journalism. Because being an editor for Nature Photonics, actually, I can combine science and journalism in one job. So actually, it is a very perfect match for what I was dreaming of when I was a secondary student, because I can actually using my knowledge to do something that I like, a journalist. So I can combine the technical background that I studied, that I received when I was a master's student, when I was a PhD student, and plus the skills that I learned from my previous job as a research commercialization consultant to be for an editor. So I thought it was quite a nice match. So because of that, I applied for it, and I was I was very happy that I got a position. That was in 2006 June. Yeah. So another was I have this kind of a worry. I was not trained. I was not a trained journalist. I was not a trained editor. So how can I be an editor? But I remember at the time when I was at the interview for this editor of Nature Photonics, the publisher told me this thing. It's easier to teach a scientist to be an editor than to teach an editor to be a scientist. I'm sure most of you agree with me about this point, right? Yeah. So I guess he sold me the idea. I was thinking, yeah, you're right. Yeah, of course, it's easier for me to be an editor and for someone who was trained to be an editor to be trained as a scientist. It's a different world, totally different world. So, so at that time, they told me that no editing skill is not a problem at all because we will be given the training on the job. So, yep, that was a very good beginning, good start for me to be an editor. So this is a journal that I'm working on. So it's a Nature Photonics. It is a monthly journal from the Nature Publishing Group that publishes peer-reviewed, top-quality research in all areas of photonics. And it contains a unique mixture of research papers, review articles, news and views pieces, business news, and market analysis. So it's not just a research journal. It's more like a magazine that combines primary research papers and also news about everything, technology or maybe papers from other journals. Yeah. And Nature Photonics editor headquarters is in London. Started in Tokyo. That was the reason why I was based in Tokyo. And after 7 years, we moved it back to London. Yeah. And now that's why I'm now based in London. So, yeah. So just to tell you a little bit about life as an editor. So it is this messy, as you can see. Exactly, this messy. Yeah. But because we have many papers and we don't have time to tidy up. Yes, yeah. So what do I do? So as an editor, I ensure that Nature Photonics is a platform chosen by the photonics community for top-notch research dissemination. So I select the high-quality papers to be sent out for peer review. And I choose the reviewers. I choose who to review the papers for the authors, and from the review reports and from the editorial criteria, I make the decision on whether to publish the papers or not to publish the papers. And I also choose which paper to be rejected by the journal as well. So this is the primary job of being an editor for Nature Photonics, and also for other Nature journals as well, including Nature. So our main job is to select good papers for our journal. We make the decision, not the reviewers, but the editors. Yeah. And on top of that, we commission reviews, articles, and also news and views. So we think about good topics for review articles. We select the authors to who are the best person to write for us, and then we commission it, and we do everything like editing and all the editorial process about that review article. And we also choose papers to highlight as news and views in the journal as well. And we choose who to write for us that news and views. Yeah. So we also carry out interviews with a top scientist. So it's quite interesting because that is a different kind of job. It's more like a journalist than an editor. So that is also something that I enjoy very much. Because I can, think about some top scientists, and then I can just approach them in person or via email to do the interview. Yeah, so it's quite fun to do that. Yeah, and also as editor, I also write editorial highlights and press releases for the journal. And everywhere in the world, I can choose where to go, which conference to attend. So that is quite fun, which is one of the things that I enjoy very much as well for traveling. Yeah. And I also visit universities to get to know the research of the new university well, so that I know what they are doing, and then what kind of research is being done in the institute. And that is why the reason that I asked Professor Tiwari to give me an introduction about your institute, so that I get to know you. Is unfortunate that I can't visit the institute in person, but I think this is the most we can do now. So I would like to know a little bit more, maybe in my next talk. Yeah, that's the reason why I say, yeah, now that I cannot visit university, but I think I can get to know your university virtually. Yeah. So what's more? Yeah. So as editor for the Nature Photonics, I get to contribute ideas in editorial content. So Nature Photonics is as you see, this is a journal. It's a very small, thin journal. It's quite thin. It's a small journal. Yep. It's quite thin and a small journal. And the editorial team of Nature Photonics, not Nature, not Springer Nature, not Nature Preparation Group, but the editorial team, which is formed by four editors. So four of us, we make the decision what we would like to see in this journal. So we decide which contents to go in, which papers to be published, and what we would like to write about for this journal. So we make all the decision ourselves. So we are always asked to contribute ideas. So whenever that you think can be good for the journal, you just speak out. So it's very nice to see, when your ideas are put into the paper. So yeah, that is the part that I enjoy very much, because you get to see the fruits of your ideas, your thoughts immediately in the journal. So yeah, that is very nice. Yeah. And I also have to promote science communications by communicating science from one party to the other party. So that is very nice to do as well. And always asked to be initiative and also creative and innovative. As I said, you need to come up with ideas from time to time, non-stop. And it is you that make the journal a good journal. So your ideas are very important in this case. It's not somebody, not the publisher, not the CEO, but the editors of the journal. Yeah. So, and on top of that, we are not just a manuscript editor, but also a correspondent and an ambassador. Why I say so? So, as an editor for Nature Photonics, I actually also do other things as well. So I am also the SPIE visiting lecturer. At the same time, OSA traveling lecturer. I was the so I have been SPIE and OSA traveling lecturer and visiting lecturer since 2008. And I was in this SPIE Women in Optics calendar in 2008. And I was also the advisory board member of the International Year of Light in 2015, and continue to be the International Day of Light as well as the advisory board member. And I was also the SPIE Scholarship Committee for the year of 2017 and 2018. And yeah, so all these things, just, something additional on top of the jobs that I do as an editor. So which is quite nice, because you're not purely a manuscript editor working for the journal, but you actually get to do some extra things for the community, which is nice. So you will see. So I get to, as a visiting lecturer of SPIE and also the traveling lecturer for OSA, I managed to visit many institutes like in Geneva, Shanghai, in New York, Columbia University, in Beijing, and also University of Rochester, Aston University, and also in Singapore for I think materials. Yeah, the materials conference. And then in San Diego for Optics and Photonics SPIE conference. Yeah. And I think it's very important that when we get something, so many things from the community, from the university, it's important that we give back to the community as well. So I try to also, do something more than just being an editor, to give back to the community. So yeah, as the editor of Nature Photonics, I give out student prizes to the student presenters for the oral presentation or poster presentation at conferences. I also join the career panel discussion, just to give some advice to the young researchers about their future careers. And I also interact with very young generation, all the way to secondary school students, to tell them more about being an editor, how it is like, and also, just to give them some ideas about what they can be in the future. Yeah. And also I give some advice as well to career path for some female students as well in Tokyo. Yeah, so all these things is quite interesting, because it actually enrich my experience as an editor, to learn something new as well at the same time. Yeah, and to give back to the community, which is very important. Yeah. So if you ask me, what it is like to be an editor, for the journal, so I would like to say that people may think that being an editor, you're no longer a scientist anymore. Yeah, I agree. I agree with them, because we no longer have this kind of a lab hours, so we don't spend time in the lab from 9 to 5, or maybe from whole day, like from 7 to 10 o'clock in the evening, 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock in the evening, or maybe Saturday, Sunday, you're still in the lab doing some research. I bet some of you do this in the lab as well, for your research study. So, but as an editor, we don't do that anymore, because we don't have lab anymore for us. And the kind of deadlines that we get can be very short and constant, because it is monthly. If it is a monthly journal, you have monthly deadlines. So it's quite short. Every month you need to produce something, instead of every half a year you need to show something, or you just need to show this conference submission deadline. So it's pretty much very different from being a scientist anymore, if you're an editor. And also we work in a company environment, not in a lab university environment anymore. And our focus as an editor is on clear communication of important new ideas to a wide audience, instead of talking about a specific research topic to a specific audience. So it's quite different here. Yeah. So we want very clear communication, simple English words to communicate the important things about a research paper to the community, instead of just to the specialist. Yeah. So it's quite different. So you can say that being an editor, we are no longer a scientist. But at the same time, you can say that being an editor can still be a scientist, because we are still, very much in this kind of immersion in the forefront of the primary research, because of all this kind of conference attendance, also university visits, university trips. So we are still working very parallel with the research world in terms of knowing what is happening in the research. So which is still quite scientist-like. And also we are trained to have this kind of critical scientific thinking because of all the manuscript that we read every day, and all the information that we absorb at the conferences, at the university visit. So we are trained to have this kind of critical scientific thinking, just like what the scientists are receiving as well. Yeah. And also, we are still having very much a lot of networking with the scientific community because of the conference attendance and lab visit. So we would say that editors are still scientists to some extent. Yeah. So the best things about being an editor. So, as I said, the deadlines and schedules are very short now. So you will need to meet the deadlines. If they say by next week you have to give me the draft of this news article, you will have to do it. You may need to work in the evening, or maybe you need to work over the weekend to do that. So you just need to do that to meet the deadlines because it's a monthly journal. So you just need to meet the deadline so that the journal can be published in time. And another bad point is, yeah, as I said, you have to work overtime to meet the deadlines when needed. And sometimes you receive complaints from the authors whose papers are rejected. You know, you walk in a conference, you walk in the corridors of the conference hall, and somebody just grab you and say, Rachel, are you the one that rejected my papers last week or last year or 5 years ago? You know, so you have to be. I have to say the bad points are not important because I think there are many exciting points that can be motivating here. So to me, it is a very intellectually stimulating to be an editor because I'm always exposed to the cutting edge of research through the nature of manuscript assessment, lab visits, and conference attendances. So I always get to learn new things. I discover not only the depth, but also the breadth of research. So it's very interesting here. You know, every day when I go to the office, I read every day when I open my computer at home now, I get to read a very exciting research papers from all over the world. So it's very nice. The feeling is very nice here. So, and also it is very challenging because I have to identify high quality, broad impact research work for publication. So it is quite challenging here because you need to make the right decision. Yeah, otherwise you get complaints. Yeah. At the same time, it is very satisfying because I'm able to contribute to the society by moving the research forward and profiling hot topics as well. So it's quite nice in this case because, as I say, this is your journal. You know, you get to decide what you want to see, what you want to publish in the journal. So you have this kind of little bit of ability to, you know, to drive the research forward, and also you can profile a little bit of hot topics for the research community. And last but not least, you get to travel. So I get to travel. So it's quite nice. It's something that I always like to do. Yeah. So there are many opportunities out there to be an editor. So I'm not sure how many of you are interested to be an editor, but if you do have the interest, I think you should try to check around, you know, visit the website of work at MPG, Nature Publishing Group, at Nature's homepage, or visit the Springer Nature's website. And also go to the job search engine and magazine websites like Science, Physics Today, Institute of Physics Publishing. I remember I found the recruitment of Nature Photonics editor in Physics Today back in 2006. Yeah. Or you can always do the direct search on the journal's website. You know, go to APL, go to PLL, you know, just to see if they're hiring any new editors. Yeah. And the best, ask the editors, you know, don't wait because we know what is happening in the company, who is hiring, who is leaving, and you know, this kind of news. So if you are interested, just ask the editors, you know, to see if there's any opportunities. And also we have this kind of special internship as well. Sometimes just we don't advertise, but we sometimes open it up. If we see appropriate candidates, we will open it up just to give you a little bit of time to test your toes a little bit, how it is like to be an editor. So if you are very interested, you can always write in to ask us for this kind of opportunity. So the current trend of the scientific publishing, so as you know now, as you can see now in the community, there are more and more new journals launched every year. Okay, for example, in photonics and optics research. So, for example, the latest one like SPIE Advanced Photonics, and also Optica, ACS Photonics, IOP Journal of Photonics. Yeah, so they're getting more and more new journals in the community now. And these journals are getting more and more selective at the same time. So they are not like society journals anymore. They actually publish high quality papers, and they also have this kind of editorial screening process, like what Nature Photonics is doing. So that means more science journals with strong technical background are needed. Somebody like you are needed now to be the editor, not just someone who is an editor, but someone with scientific technical background like you are needed now to be the editor for these highly selective, high quality research journals. Yeah, so just keep an eye on this kind of journals to see if they are recruiting. So I think I saw a question, how to be qualified to be an editor. Okay, so I can tell you now that how Nature selects editor. So there was a question about this. So how Nature selects editors. So these are the criteria that Nature has for when we're hiring an editor. First, we would like to have a PhD in a relevant field to our journals. So you need to have a PhD degree. So if it is Nature Photonics who is hiring, you need to have a PhD in photonics field. If it is Nature Materials, you need to have a background in, you need to have a PhD degree in material science. If it is nano, you need to have background in nano. Yeah, just that simple. You just need to have a PhD degree in a relevance field to that journal that is hiring. Yeah, that is the important point. And some postdoctoral experience is preferred, but I would say that it's not necessary. Yeah, if you don't have any postdoctoral experience, it's not a problem. But the important thing is you need to have a passion in science and the thirst to learn more. So you need to, have this kind of desire, to learn more things. Yeah, to be the editor. And you need to have a breadth of scientific research, open for new things, and you need to have a enthusiasm in in science communication. Communicating science to the community. So you need to have that kind of passion in mind. And at the same time, you need to be dynamic, outgoing, motivated, and you have to have a good interpersonal skills, to be able to communicate with different levels of people like scientists and also maybe young researchers or maybe a very prestigious professor. So that is the kind of skills you need to have. And you need to be able to speak fluent English. And journalistic writing ability is desirable, but it's not essential. So it's not important. As I told you, it is easier to train an editor, a scientist to be an editor than training an editor to be scientist. So come with a scientific background and we will train you. Yeah. And the last thing is you need to have a desire to travel and to meet the scientists worldwide. Yeah, that is important. Yeah. So in Nature, we have this talent pool open for registration. So if you love science but feel that there's a career at the bench, the career at the bench is not enough to state your desire, and you want to learn more about the whole scientific world, you can always register your interest in this Nature talent pool, and we will keep you posted when there are opportunities like recruitments from journals. And if you bring a passion for science, we will develop your editorial and publishing expertise. So if you're interested, register your interest in this pool, and then when there are opportunities, we will contact you. Yeah. So I appreciate that some of you may have this kind of worry, like, but I study my PhD, when I graduate, I want to be a scientist, I want to be a researcher, then I want to be a PI, the principal investigator, then I would like to be a professor if possible, this is my dream to be a professor and all these things. So I appreciate that maybe being an editor is not so conventional, not a conventional route for a PhD holder. So yeah, I fully understand that. This is a lot of question from the people that I talk to. So because science communication is not a traditional career for scientists, and you can be nervous about considering non-traditional careers, and you prefer to stick to continue in academia or work in industry. So, and also there are no formal routes into the science communications. And of course, you have this kind of fear, like, what if it is not suitable for me? What am I going to do? If I go to be an editor, and can I still go back to be a researcher? So I understand that, and I think you have to make a decision to see what you like, and also to take the risk to try. If editor is something that you want to do. So, for example, I have a colleague who became the editor, who was a scientist for many years, and then he joined to be an editor for Nature journals. And then after 2 years, he decided that no, he still prefers a hands-on experience to be a scientist instead of reading manuscript of what scientist is doing. So he prefers this kind of direct contact of scientific research. So he quit, and now he's back to the research world. So you can always make a decision at any time of your career journey to do what you like. So it's not like a set stone thing. So yeah. So what I want to say is be the CEO of your career, because you are the one that decide what you want to do and how your career path is going to be. So take charge of that. Yeah. And there are many things that a PhD holder can do. There are many opportunities, and of course, being a researcher and lecturer is the obvious choice. But there are also some other paths as well. For example, editor, technology transfer officer, research commercialization consultant, or CTO, or patent attorney, grant officer, entrepreneur, and all these things. So you just need to be open, to all these kind of opportunities. But remember, what you do doesn't need to be related to what you study. So you need to just make a decision. Yeah. And also it's important to think outside the box. So when you're in a box, you will be limited to only a few opportunities. But once you are getting out of the box, you will get a lot of opportunities from the outside world. Yeah. And I think the most important thing is follow your passion. So remember what you like and what you enjoy to do. Because when you work on something that you like to do, you're not working anymore. Yeah. So thank you for your attention. This is the end of my talk. This is my email address and also my Twitter account. As we said in the beginning, I will give another talk about writing and submitting a paper on this Friday at 3:30 p.m. So now I'm open for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong, for an
Yep.
interesting talk. Now I request Sonia to take the question.
Yep.
If anyone have any question, they can write down in the chat box.
Hello, ma'am.
I see the chat.
Hello.
So I think I saw the question, what are the essential qualifications for being an editor? So I tried to answer during my talk. So as I said, the main thing is for the editor in Nature journals, the main thing is you need to have a PhD degree. So it's not the PhD degree is important. It's the kind of training that you receive as a PhD student that is important. Because if you are trained to be during the training in your PhD study, you're actually trained to learn a new topic, to learn a new topic from scratch. So it's very important that that training to be used to be an editor, because being an editor is the same. When we get a paper, it could be something that we are familiar with, a topic that we are familiar with. So then it's easy, we read and we make a decision. But sometimes it could be a topic that is out of our field. We will be asked actually to learn it quickly and to know what is happening in the community now, what is new, what is not new, by doing many kind of research by Google, by Scopus, by Web of Science, by reading through the references, and also by reading some recent papers. So that is the kind of training that we want from the PhD study. So the degree is important, but it's important in this sense, the training that you receive during the PhD study.
Thank you. Sonia?
My second question is, can anyone do editor job as a part-time?
For the editors in Nature, we actually do not have a part-time position. Okay, so Nature journals are different from society journals. For example, APL, PLL, APL, PLL, what else? SPIE, Advanced Photonics, Optica, ACS Photonics. They are editors who are professors in a university. So they are different. They are different journals from Nature journals because they are society journals. So they are open to professors who can be a part-time editor for the job. So it's different. Yeah, that one you can try to approach. But for the editors in Nature journals, all the Nature journals, we are full-time journals working solely for the journal only. I think the reason is very simple because in this case, we are not tied to any university, we are not tied to any industry, any institute, any companies. So we make decision ourselves. We are not biased. We don't have competitors because we don't do research. We are reading research from the authors. So we are full-time editors that is focused that are focusing only on assessing your research outputs. So we will not be biased in this case. Yeah, because we are not going to be your competitor. Yeah. So we don't hire part-time editor jobs for Nature journals. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question, please. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, please continue.
I have a question, please.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I typed this question in the chat, but I prefer clarifying it in audio. That's a point. If someone is dreaming about joining MIT or Stanford as a PhD student, um, then it's real to do something like this, or some of the seven wonders across the world that they can join one of these universities. Actually, I have asked this question several times to many professors, and actually a great category of them gave a kind of negative answers.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? I mean,
concerning,
what kind of negative answer?
for example, you need strong relations from this institution in order that you can get the recommendation in order to join.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the pieces of advice told me that you need a kind of a great chance to have a talk with some of the professors there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can see. Then you have this link of the 1 minute meeting. You know it, the elevator meeting, as you know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm not surprised. You need to have a good relationship, with someone inside to be able to get into MIT and Stanford. I'm not surprised to hear that, because I could see that sometimes the students from the students, maybe master student from one professor, um, um, from one professor, they when they finish their master degree, they join MIT with another the good friend of the professor from their master study. You see, if the professor, if their previous professor is a good friend of a professor in MIT or Stanford, of course they can get this kind of recommendation. Like, you take my student, I take your student, and then we will exchange student in this case. So that kind of arrangement is very lucky for the students because of their supervisors or their professors, a relationship with the professors in MIT and Stanford. So that is good for the students. But I'm sure there are ways to get into the university. So I think it's very important that if you know which professor or which departments of this university, like MIT or Stanford, that you want to get into, if you manage to see them at conferences or maybe at some conferences, maybe at virtual talks now, you always are encouraged to establish this kind of conversation or talks with them. Don't wait. Don't just be passive and wait and just apply like a normal application. You should always be how to say, proactive, knock on the door and say, hi, my name is Gamal. I'm very interested to be the PhD student in your department. Can you, tell me more and all these things? I'm a very motivated person. So this is my goal, to be in the department. So, try to be proactive, to introduce yourself, make the move, to let them know that how good you are and all these things, so that they have a good impression about you. And if they think you are the person, appropriate candidates for their studentship or for their PhD students, they would just offer you the position. I remember when I was in Singapore, remember I told you in my talk, I have this directory about higher education from the SPIE. So I basically browsed through, it's just to see what kind of opportunities there were in the UK and in the US. So, and then I chose about 10 universities and I wrote email to each professor and say, I'm interested to study as a PhD student with you. Would you be interested to take me as a PhD student? I wrote like 10 emails just to introduce myself, just to make the first move. And then I just wait to see who came back to me. Yeah. So I think this is important. Try to be proactive. Yeah. And don't miss any chance to introduce yourself at conferences if you bump into any one of them.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
The next question is, as some top journals are paid, how the paid money is used by the journal?
Say again?
As some top journals are paid, how the paid money is used by journal?
How is the?
Paid money is used.
You mean how the paid money is used by the journal? Okay. Some top journals are paid. You mean the publication?
Yes, publication charges, I think.
Okay, so you're talking about the APC, right? The article processing charge. Yeah. So Nature Communications, they're charging maybe £3,000, if I remember correctly, 5,000 US dollars. Scientific reports, 2,000, something like that. So Nature journals, they don't charge. So, okay, so you are asking how the paid money is used by the journal. So remember, we are all full-time journal. So we are paid by the company to work on the job. We are not paid by any university or institute or companies to work on the journals, like a research company to work on the journals. We are paid fully by Nature Research, Nature Publishing Group, to work as an editor to process the papers. So, and there are many, many editors. In Nature Communication, there are about 67 editors working on Nature Communication only. Yeah, so obviously they need to, they need some financial support for that. And also, this is the direct cost that you can see, like editors processing your paper, but also there are other costs as well. For example, copy editor, art editor, production editor, sales, marketing. Those people, they are doing different kind of job to publicize your papers to the community. So, it has to be a sustainable way to do that. Yeah. And yep, that is the case. Yeah. But I would like to say, yeah, okay.
Hello, hello, madam. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
It is about judging a journal or paper to reject or accept it. If there are papers and one has rejected the paper and one has accepted the paper, then how is means judging that they have to given a chance or not?
Okay, so I can explain very clearly on that. So as I said in the talk, as an editor for Nature journals, we make decision based on not just the review reports from the reviewers. We also make a decision based on the editorial criteria of our journal. So we make the call. So we don't count votes in this case. We don't count 2 positive reports, 1 negative report we are going to publish. 2 negative reports, 1 positive report we are going to reject. So this is not the case for Nature journals because we don't count votes. So what editors do in Nature journals is we judge the quality of the papers. we read through everything from the review reports, and then we think carefully about why the reviewers are rejecting, why the reviewers are supporting the papers. So based on that, we start to analyze what are the good points, what are the negative points. And if this is a paper that we want to see in the journal, if this is not a paper that we want to see in the journal, even if there are more positive reports than the negative reports, we are not going to publish. So yeah, this can be the scenario. Even with more positive reports, we may decide not to publish a paper just because we do not think it is suitable for us. Yeah, we don't listen to the reviewers. We only take the review reports as a guidance. So in your question, you said one negative report and one positive report. Then we have to see why the negative reviewer is rejecting the paper and why the positive reviewer is supporting the paper. We need to know the reasons. They cannot just say, because I don't like the paper, I just don't like this topic. Or yeah, if this is the case, we do not take it seriously. They need to give us scientific reasons why they are rejecting, why they are supporting. So as editor, we make the call, and we are trained to be able to make a decision in this case.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone have a query, please unmute themselves and ask one by one.
Okay, I have a query.
Yes.
Okay, if anyone have to seek for editorial job, then there are two ways. Either look for the job opening at the various advertisement, or we can communicate to the editor, present editor. So won't that create competition kind of thing among editors?
What competition, for example?
Editors between who is presently a editor of the journal.
Who is the what editor? Say again.
If we are looking for an editorial job, and we have to write to editor to seeking for the job. So he's also an editor at that job at that journal, and we are also seeking for same job. So one position and two seekers. So won't that create some competition like of thing?
You mean like if you're applying for two journals to be an editor?
For one journal only.
Yeah.
Say for Photonics, Nature Photonics. And so you are an editor. If I approach you and seeking for editorial job, you are also an editor there. So won't that create competition kind of thing? Yeah.
No. Okay. Normally, we will only consider you. We will only consider application when there is a vacancy, right? So, yeah. So there won't be any competition, because if there is no vacancy, we will not consider. So it's only when there is a vacancy open, then we will consider like people who approach us. We will not say something like we take one, we kick out one. No, this is not the case. Yeah.
Okay. So, and how to approach the editor? So we feed all the information at once to him, or step by step by introducing first to him, and then what are our expertise through mail?
Yeah, I think, you can write an email. You can always introduce yourself, and also you can attach your CV as well. Yeah. And also the important thing is you have to say why you are interested to be an editor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
past experience does matter in that case. Any editorial
past what?
Past editorial experience.
No, as I said, it is not. It's desirable, but it's not essential. So it's not important if you haven't been an editor. I can tell you, most of the editors are hired for nature journals, like Nature Communications and Nature Photonics, Nature Physics, and all these things. Most of us, we come with no postdoctoral experience. Yeah, like straight from the PhD study.
Okay, so in PhD, photonics can be divided into number of fields like biophotonics, photoacoustic, and so forth. So one person have expertise in one. So how can he judge, become he become my editor? So how can he judge the manuscript, which can
Okay.
be, yeah.
Yeah. So for each paper that we receive from the author, from the community, we assign two editors to be in charge of that paper. So we select the editors by their backgrounds. So if this paper is about biophotonics, it depends on, okay, what kind of, so if it is about imaging, then we will get an editor with imaging background. If it is about, for example, photonic crystal fibers, then we will get an editor with the background of photonics with crystal fibers. And these two editors are in charge of that paper, in assessing the paper, in making decision whether the paper should be sent out for review. Yeah, so this is how we share load, share the different kind of expertise among the team. So, for example, in Nature Photonics, there are 4 of us, and 4 of us, we have different backgrounds. So one in terahertz in quantum, the other one in plasmonics, metamaterials, and the other one in devices and optical fiber, and the other one in imaging or nonlinear optics or maybe spectroscopy. So each one of us, we have different backgrounds to contribute to the journal. And that is how we share the different topics of the papers that we receive from the community.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
I have a question here. Rakel. My question is like, normally to how many reviewers you sent the manuscript? Because
Okay.
I have, yeah.
So normally we aim to assign 3 referees for each papers to review the papers for us, and we give about 2 weeks time for them to review for us. So, but it very much depends on the timing, right? So if we manage to assign 3 referees at the same time, that is very good. It's very good. But when we sometimes it's not so easy to assign 3 at the same time. So maybe 2 already say yes, like long time ago, and the other one we are still waiting. In this case, if we receive the 2 reports from the previous 2 reviewers, we will just go ahead with a decision based on the 2 review reports instead of 3 review reports. So it very much depends on the timing when we sign up the referees. Yeah. So if possible, we always aim to get 3 referees in this case. And sometimes, if the situation is getting a little bit complicated, for example, one referee can be very negative about the papers. They raise a lot of scientific reasons to reject the papers, while the other 2 referees are very positive about the papers. We may, involve a little bit of complicated review process in this case. So we may get back to the other 2 referees to ask them to take a look on the negative referees reports, just to give us some comments about whether the referee is being too harsh or a little bit too much, yeah, or too negative about the whole work. So in this case, we will involve a little bit of additional review process. And sometimes when it is getting more complicated, we will involve the 4th referees in the second round of the review process. The 4th or maybe the 5th referee even, just to make sure that we get an informed knowledge about the paper. Yeah. So, but in the beginning, for a simple submission, we aim to get 3 reviewers.
And one more is like, for example, if in the beginning, when the manuscript is being submitted at your end, so as an editor, you check the quality of the work and make sure like whether it is to be sent for the reviewing process. So it means like if you are sending it, so you are okay with the quality of the work, right? So then you are waiting for the means you are being dependent on the reviews from the reviewer, because you are okay from your side as an editor. So after getting the reviews, for example, they are negative. So have you experienced in your case like you have to change your decision as an editor? Like initially you are okay with the quality, then you have changed the.
Yep. Okay. So when we make a decision to send a paper out for review, it is not just about we agree with the quality of the paper. We just think the paper is of potential conceptual advance or technological advance. Okay? Just maybe off. potential. Okay, so we are not sure if what we think is correct, but we think there is a potential that this paper is good enough for us. So then we send out for reviews to the reviewers so that we can check out the, just to get an informed reassurance, and also to make sure that there is no technical flaws, technical problems like technical flaw and all these things in the paper. So that is why sometimes after we send out for review, we later reject the paper because maybe there are some technical problems. The whole thing is not accurate, it's not technically valid. So unfortunately, in this case, we have to change our we have to reject it, even though we make a decision to send out for a review. Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone have a query? Okay. And now I handing over the session to Keshav sir.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Dr. Wang, for resolving all queries. Now, I request Amit to give thanks note to Dr. Wang.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. And I'm audible.
Yeah, Amit.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for such an inspiring and motivating lectures. That your journey in optics is motivate us very much. That your experience, that is sharing your experience working as an editor, is quite amazing. Inspire so many of us working as an editor. That you quote sometime that it is easier to teach a scientist to become an editor. It is quite interesting. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such amazing lecture. Over to Keshu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Russell. And I'm sorry I forgotten to introduce. So, but maybe next in your next talk, I'll introduce about the laboratory and about the system of the CSAR.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
I request everyone to switch on their camera so that we can have a digital selfie with our speaker.
Ah, okay. Hello, Deepa. Hello. Hello, Sonia. Hello, Manish. Hello.
Okay. So on count of 3, Manish.
I think
Come back.
Manish, come back. On count of 3.
I think Vijay sir is also there. Vijay Janani.
Vijay sir.
Yeah, I think is from NIT Jaipur. If I'm right, I don't know.
His camera is off.
Yeah.
Okay. So on count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
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 Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
So thank you so much. I'll see you this Friday then. Yeah.
We have posted the registration link for Friday talk on the chat box. Kindly register from there. And we again meet on Friday, 3:30 p.m. Indian time. And on that lecture, she will take about how to write manuscript and perfect manuscript. So we will meet on that day, Friday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
See you. Bye bye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Same to you. Have a good day.